but to just kind of make it a little bit more normalized and less stigmatized, right? And so we're talking about body shaming and body image today, which is something that we kind of want to hear your perspective on for sure. But yeah, we actually had some sponsors who helped us out to make all this come together.
Yeah.
So do you want to give a quick shout out to them?
Yeah, so we'll start off, and we're excited to get to talk to you. So thanks for bearing with us, Sarah. But we're so thankful for our sponsors that are helping us out, and Athleta is one of them. And Athleta at Turtle Creek here in Dallas supported us, and they're located by the Katy Trail. Yeah, Sarah, did you ever walk along there while you're here in Dallas on the Katy Trail?
Yeah, I did. So when I was in Dallas, I would drive back and forth from Fort Worth because I went to college over in Fort Worth, Texas at Texas Christian University. So I wasn't a whole lot in Dallas, but I visited here and there.
Okay.
So you're familiar.
Anyways, Athleta is all about fueling everybody's on-the-go lifestyle and wanting to support women with the Power of She campaign, and to help everybody prioritize their health and wellness to live their best life, which is cool because that's what we're about.
Yeah, and I'm obsessed with their clothes. They're just amazing.
Yeah, and we talk about, we'll get to in the conversation today about body inclusivity, and making sure that everybody feels comfortable in what they're wearing, and they do a good job of offering that. So we're thankful for Athleta. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then another one of our sponsors is Zen22, and we know you're a huge fan of Zen22.
I did love Zen when I was down there. I would go constantly. They called me, it was like family. I loved when you walked in the door of a fitness studio and you're like, everyone knows your name and you know theirs.
It's such a community.
Absolutely. And I love that boutique fitness lifestyle where, exactly, it can be that community rather than you're just a number, and I really appreciate that about them. Yeah. And the workout's great and fun too.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. And they kind of see themselves as a balanced approach to fitness as well, just like what you're saying. And let's see, they have so many classes that you can go to. I love that. You can find them at zen22.com. And your first 2 classes are $15 if you sign up with the Miss USA code. So they gave us, the code is Miss USA. So anybody who wants to go try them out, definitely do that. What's that?
Tell them I say hi.
Sure. They did say hi to you, so for sure. And then, you can find us. So we're therapists here in Dallas at White Rock Counseling. And so we do online coaching and online therapy. So if you like that, what we have to say, find us there or everydaytherapypodcast.com as well. We have lots of different podcasts on stress, anxiety, depression,
intuitive eating, perfectionism. So hopefully something for someone.
Yes, right. Something for everyone.
Yeah,
for sure.
But oh my goodness. Okay. Thanks for sitting through that all. Let's get to it. Miss USA, that's why you're here.
Wonderful.
So Sarah, I know a little bit about you. I've known you for a few years now, and it's crazy knowing you before you were Miss USA. Like you haven't changed one bit. Like you are just still this little unicorn ray of sunshine, I feel like.
Thank you. That's the best compliment ever. I mean, that's the goal, right? You want to stay grounded and stay level-headed, very humble, so that I can relate and connect with those that I meet every day, whether that's here in New York where I'm based for the year or when I'm traveling as Miss USA. And so I really appreciate that compliment.
Yeah. And so you're trained as a child life specialist.
Yes. Before I won Miss USA, I had completed my education. I got a bachelor's degree in child development. I actually graduated with 2 degrees, which, I mean, I'm sure you guys can speak to this too. We go to college so young and you're told to know what you're going to do, and then it's confusing. We don't know half the job opportunities out there. So I went to college, thought I wanted to work in PR for a children's hospital. was in my sophomore, junior year of college when I started volunteering at a local children's hospital in Fort Worth at Cook Children's. And I was introduced to the field of child life. I called my advisor and I called my parents. I said, this is what I'm supposed to do. Mom, Dad, this is what these people get to do every single day, and that is what I want to do every single day. And so I added a completely second degree path, and I got a second degree in child development. I finished my clinical rotations in Dallas at Dallas Children's for my practicum, which is really guided, just 2 a day a week. So I drove over every day, or every Tuesday and Thursday, from Fort Worth to Dallas to complete that. And then I moved to Oklahoma City, where I knew no one, to complete my 5-month internship experience, full-time guided observation, and then taking over as well and doing it independently. And then I went home, competed in Miss Nebraska USA in January, where my clinical rotations ended in December. So pretty much 1 year ago, which is really crazy to think about, that 1 year ago I was doing my clinical rotations. It just is a testament to how much can change in a year. I was in Oklahoma City. I was really lonely, kind of struggled with not knowing anyone, but having such a busy schedule at the hospital that I really didn't have time to get to know anyone either. I'm very outgoing, so I know that I can go to church, to workout classes, to find people that are like-minded that could be friends with me, but I just truly had no time. But then I went home. I won Miss Nebraska USA in January. I completed and passed my clinical rotations to be a certified child life specialist in April, and then I went to Miss USA in May, and I won. And then I moved to New York City.
Just a little bit going on, not huge transitions at all.
Lots has changed. It's pretty wonderful, though. It's given me lots of opportunities that I never would have expected in my life, and I'm so thankful for that.
Absolutely. I'm noticing a little feedback, Ziggy. Is there something we can change about that? Okay. Okay, cool.
Just some technical issues we're working through. Love it. So
Feels
Sarah,
good, sounds good on my end.
Yeah. Awesome. So Sarah, it's been a whirlwind for you, and you said that you've learned a lot. If you could narrow down maybe 1 or 2 things from your experience thus far from Miss USA as growing you, what would they be?
Ooh, I've grown a lot in my patience and flexibility. I am a huge planner. I love to be able to use an actual planner, write down and see what I have going on, and being able to kind of control my schedule. So that's a control issue on my end. But as Miss USA, I have a manager who does all that for me, and I truly get my itinerary for the following day the night before most often, sometimes a few days in advance.
Oh my gosh.
But that was the biggest transformation for me, the biggest change, that I went from controlling my schedule and scheduling all my workouts at these fitness boutiques and signing up for them ahead of time, to then not having control of my schedule, and just being willing and able to go with the flow and be flexible. So that's been huge for me. I've also grown a lot to know that no matter if I'm traveling domestically or internationally, there's always something that you can connect on with someone, no matter the language barrier. I met Miss Brazil not long ago, and she's fabulous, but she really does only speak Portuguese. But we were able to share a lot of laughs, and just those moments are so beautiful. What else have I grown? My goodness, I mean, I can take the subway now.
That's a feat. I can only imagine. Yes. I mean, I get lost using a GPS. JC knows this, so I truly commend you on that. So
I do love it here. I really, really do. It's been fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of letting go.
Absolutely.
Letting go control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, starting with our topic today and just talking about body image and all that jazz, I know that I feel like every person that I've ever met has struggled with body image. It's very rare to find a person who's never struggled with that. So I'm just curious, do we want to tell a little bit about our personal experiences, or?
Yeah, or I mean, why this is important. I will just say, Sarah, I mean, truly, I'm like so thankful for this opportunity to share with others because, you know, and we talked a little bit at Top Golf. When was that? A while back, about my work in helping those with eating disorders. And body image is can lead to a slippery slope of having an eating disorder. And so for the clients that I have worked with, for the 10, 11-year-old girls that are beating themselves up, being bullied for how they look, for the clients that I work with that are like 20 years deep into their eating disorder, and for myself having these own experiences, like, thank you. For this opportunity for us to come and talk about this and find ways of helping so that everybody can be comfortable in living their life. And because with eating disorders, there's, you know, real ramifications physically, emotionally, and mentally. And body image, I mean, just really can take up a lot of brain space and limit us when we're so consumed with that. So thank you.
Absolutely. That's so true. I mean, we waste so much time and energy on that. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. And I know that eating disorder recovery, NIDA is one of your top organizations that you're super passionate about.
Yeah, NIDA. It stands for National Eating Disorder Association. So I was involved with them actually more so as Miss Nebraska USA. I unfortunately encountered a lot of women and friends and even some young boys with eating disorders. And just throughout my lifetime, I was training for a half marathon with my neighbor from back home in Nebraska, and she went into the doctor one day, and we all knew that something was going on, but she didn't quite yet. She went into the doctor and they told her that she could go to sleep and not wake up the next morning. Her heart rate was so low. So she went into inpatient care in Colorado because Nebraska doesn't have a unit. And then the other extreme, she was working out all the time. I mean, there are so many different eating disorders that society doesn't even know of. Like, I read a crazy statistic the other day that binge eating disorder is more common than breast cancer and HIV. And
it's just getting recognized, right? Because there's still that myth that it's about lack of control. These people don't have willpower, right? But there's true, I mean, you know this in all the work, right? Genetic predisposition, like 50 to 80% are uncontrollable factors tied in with personality and life events that happen.
It's fascinating. It really is. And one thing that was really interesting for me to learn that might be shocking to some of our viewers is when I was in Oklahoma City, they had a unit that they referred to as adolescent medicine. But I mean, we had young boys, I mean, under 10 years old who were there. And there are just food aversions that can lead to eating disorders, but it's not necessarily always surrounded on that distorted image of beauty and body image. But oftentimes, like you said, it can be that slippery slope where it leads to that, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think it's important to define body image in a way that is helpful for our listeners, and that it's not like we have this cultural idea of what beauty is. And somebody who is beautiful, maybe Miss USA or kind of that identity of beauty, right? Not even that person can have, you know, body image issues. And it's really like your relationship with yourself. It's kind of that internal process, not externally like what you look like.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, JC. Like the relationship with yourself and then how you treat yourself and your body. Really shows up. I mean, that's how we think of body image. For you, do you have any thoughts on that, Sarah?
Body image, exactly. I think it is exactly how you guys were saying, that relationship within yourself and how you personally view yourself. You can be told that you're beautiful or that you're so thin or that you have this great body, or the opposite. You can be told that you're overweight and you can be told these horrible things, that you're a pig and X, Y, and Z, but your personal body image and your self-esteem stems from how you feel within yourself. And sure, those comments from outsiders can impact that, but it's mostly how you feel within yourself.
Right. Which is shaped, though, I would say, by, comments and what we want as, a society. And those comments can last and hurt. I'll just say for certain personality types that are more sensitive, they can really stick. Clients that I worked with, can remember something from their childhood that kind of spawned, this focus on themselves, and they leave a lasting impact. And I know for you, Sarah, too. You've gotten, unfortunately, some really nasty things said to you. And I'm curious, how did that impact you?
Yeah, of course. Do you kind of want me to paint the picture for some of the audience, or
absolutely, please, yeah.
Absolutely, please, yeah. Okay, so before I became Miss Nebraska USA, Miss USA, I really wanted to be 100% confident and able to say that I have a balanced and healthy relationship between food and fitness. I never wanted to feel that I needed to work out in order to burn off what I had with my friends the night before. I wanted to have an even keel, a healthy relationship between it all. So
is that something that you've always had? Did that come naturally to you?
When I competed as a teenager, before I went to college, I really couldn't decipher the difference between dedication and obsession. And I kind of crossed over that line. I really just went full speed into that goal and kind of left everything else to the wayside. And I didn't want that. Your life goes on no matter if you win a crown or if you win a title or if you get that job or if you get that boyfriend or whatever that may be in your lives who you're listening. And I, as a Miss USA, or as a woman who wanted to be Miss Nebraska USA, I want my Miss USAs to have a strong mentality and a strong resilience, truly, to the haters, to the hate, to being able to go to galas and eat the food that's provided, and being able to be strong and loving my fitness classes. So that's just something that I really wanted to have before I went. And then won Miss Nebraska USA this year. Amazing experience. I really, I do enjoy working out. So it was never a punishment to me. But it was something that, I saw my family struggle with my whole life. My dad is a huge fitness buff. He loves to work out. On the other hand, my mom does not. She lost 75 pounds before my older brother graduated high school. So that's something that I saw from a very, very young age. And we know a lot of this plays into from genetics. Yeah. So it's just something that I was aware of. And, you hear the word diet all the time, but really a diet is what any one person eats in a day. That is your diet. It doesn't need to be going on a restrictive diet. Technically, the word, that's how it's defined. But I heard it growing up as that restrictive diet. How are you going to lose the weight? How are you going to get less? How are you going to thinner? And so I'm so grateful that I was able to get to that place with a great support system from my friends, from my family. I have a strong faith that I lean on as well. I competed in Nebraska, won Miss USA. Fast forward to this fall, I was asked to walk in New York Fashion Week, which is just exciting. So bonkers, right? I had never even thought of that. Never dreamt of it. It's amazing, but it was never something that was on my crazy dreams list because I just never thought it was even physically possible. So I went and I watched a New York Fashion Week. Huge, unforeseen dream come true. Had a great time. Very fun. Wore a beautiful gown. Came home to my apartment in New York City. Opened my social media. All over my personal Sarah Rose Summers Instagram. All over the Miss USA Instagram. All over even fan pages and the designer whom I walked for. She's so fat. Miss USA needs a diet. She's disgusting. Oh my gosh, she's gained so much weight. What a shame to the organization. Pig emojis. You name it, and these people come up with it. Yes, we can roll our eyes and think, oh, these people are trolls that are sleeping in their parents' basement and they have nothing better to do. But still, words hurt. You know that old saying, sticks and stones break your bones, but words never hurt you. That is not true. It is not.
Heck no.
In that moment, I was very impacted negatively. I know that I'm a size 2 or a 0. I can look at my jeans and see a 24 or a 25. I know what size I am, and I know that I have that healthy relationship between faith and food and fitness, the three. And so even though in that moment it was hard for me, I was able to rest on that truth that I know deep down. And then I called my manager, because the initial, crisis management is delete those comments, block those people, and yada, yada. But I called my manager the next morning and said, can we please stop deleting these? Because I want to address it for all of the young women and men, or anyone that might be reading these comments and thinking, well, if she's fat, then what am I?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to address it because I have that platform and I have that opportunity, whereas a 12-year-old in Indiana junior high who's getting picked on might not, and she might not have that support. So I did a video just kind of in response to it all, and hopefully encouraging people to not waste energy on hate, and to rest in the truth that they know who they are, no matter what those people say. But it was an interesting, trying time for me. Now I would truly say that I'm grateful for the experience, because I've had that opportunity to speak out and relate to so many young women and men on this horrible but common issue. I would never wish it upon anyone, though.
Yeah. No, I so appreciate your ability to be candid, because even though you're a strong woman who has a strong sense of self, you're also human, right? And so the words that cut and make you question, I mean, you are human, and we want to be accepted and have approval by everyone, and we can't, unfortunately. But I can totally understand that it would still impact. But the way that you responded, I think really just shows really where you're coming from, and so appreciate you sharing and doing that for others.
Yeah, it seems like you really turned it around to be empowering for yourself. And I think that that's the whole point, is coming from an empowerment perspective versus with yourself and with others, an empowerment perspective versus a critical. So those two sides, even with dieting being critical, punishment, judgment for yourself, or that empowerment, I want to eat healthy because I want to feel good, or I want to work out because I want to feel good, not I'm overweight so I want to punish myself, or with other people as well, of you are beautiful, obviously you are Miss USA, size of your pants or not, and your heart, oh my gosh, you have such a beautiful heart. But yeah, coming from an empowering place versus a critical place, so your hashtag was, can you remind me what it is?
Absolutely. So it's something that I definitely started saying after all of that, but also something that I've been told since I was a little girl and that I live with today is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Unless you are my boss and we need to have a feedback session of constructive feedback in order how I'm going to do my job better. I don't need to know how you feel about my ugly shoes or whatever it may be. Just stop.
But did your mom teach you that one? I feel like that's a mom thing.
Yes, both of my parents did.
Yeah. No, I can relate. Shout out to my parents. Right. Hey. Kindness is so underrated, and criticism can really hurt and last and sting. So I really appreciate that campaign to have everybody just be compassionate and check themselves before they say anything.
Well, and
to be happier.
Yeah.
When you are kind to others, and when you are joyful, and when you share a smile with a stranger on the street, or you stand up for someone, you're going to be happier at the end of the day, and your attitude and your mood is just going to be completely different. One of my friends and a former Miss USA, her name's Kristen Dalton, JC, I haven't told you about her, I don't think, but she speaks to the sparkle effect. She has a book that's called The Sparkle Effect.
I've seen you posting about that. I love it. Okay, tell me more.
It's all about, from the inside out, it shows, it seeps through your pores. You can see that sparkle, and there's just something about people that are kind and have that big heart for others that they have that sparkle. You kind of sometimes hear it oh, she has that thing, or she's really got the it factor. What is it? It's that sparkle from within. And I think that it's just obvious when people are truly kind.
Well, and I wonder too, for some people, is it, if I think somebody else is sparkling too much or more than me. Like, am I gaining sparkle by putting them down? Absolutely not. Like we can both sparkle. You can sparkle. Yeah. That doesn't take away from my sparkle.
There's room for all of us at the finish line. Yes. It doesn't need to be a competition. I mean, I'm literally leaving to compete at Miss Universe. And I'm competing with 95 other women from around the world. And that's a mindset too within itself. I'm competing with these women, not against these women, because we're all meant to do great things and we just don't know. It's for one of us to be Miss Universe. And there's like, you just gotta give it your all. We're all so different, but so like-minded at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and that's such a beautiful way to just do life in general, like at work or school, like we're all competing with each other versus against.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've never understood the and maybe this is something you guys can speak to. I've never understood that if you envy someone else, you're rude to them, you're mean to them, you try to break them down. I'm always like, I want great girlfriends that are strong and fit and amazing, and I want to be best friends with them. I've never been the I want to tear you down to feel better about myself. So I don't know really where that comes from.
Yeah. I think that's a good curiosity to have. And I mean, maybe you can share a little bit, Julian, but one of my thoughts is like sometimes it can be very unconscious, right? Of like we're taught that that's just the way that it is. And so it really does have to be like a perspective shift of like, oh, there's another way, So I almost like have empathy for people who think that that's the way that it has to be, because that's a hard life to live, to just, want to tear people down constantly and kind of live within that negativity, right? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you make a good point. It could be family modeling, but really at the core of it, I mean, same with any sort of bullying is the deep insecurity and the fear, right? So how do they manifest that? By externalizing, taking it out on others when really they're hurting inside. And so we can feel for them. Absolutely. And also not say that like that behavior is okay.
Oh, for
right?
Sure.
Like,
for sure.
Work on yourself, right? Work on being able to look at, okay, so I'm not Miss USA, but what is it about me that I can appreciate, right? I'm not Miss Brazil. What is it about me that I can appreciate, right? Do you struggle ever like comparing yourself to others?
I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no, but there's times in my life where I have learned that that's such a waste of energy.
Yeah.
And whether that's my first ever heartbreak and I instantly compared it to other relationships that I'd seen around me and thought, maybe that will break up and he'll change and then we'll get back together like this couple did, or maybe we'll be like this couple. Every journey is unique within itself. No person, no relationship, no story is going to be exactly like the other. So why are we trying to compare it to the other? We're not going to look exactly the same. If all three of us ate and worked out in the same way, we are not going to end up with the same body, even if we did it for 3 years. We're just not. We're not made to be the same. And that's beautiful within itself. And so that's something that I really came to know at the same time as I learned true independence when I was in college. It's just a waste of energy. There's no point. I heard something that's definitely faith-based, but that I remember is worship before you worry and pray before you panic. And I mean, it goes with comparison also. And when I speak to sororities as Miss Nebraska USA or as Miss USA, I always say that at the end of this speaking engagement, I want you to go through everyone you follow on social media. Every single person, you need to go on a little cleanse, even if it's thousands. That's crazy. You don't know that many people, first of all. Second of all,
reality check. I love your honesty. It's true, though. They're fake friends.
Right. So when you scroll through your feed, and if you see someone and you feel inferior to them, you feel lesser than, unfollow them.
Yeah.
You need to remember that it's their highlight reel, but also if you'll feel inferior to them or superior to them, pardon me, if you feel better that's also not life-giving. That's also not what we're called to do. And so just trusting in the fact that you're going to either feel inferior or superior, neither are good, and that it's a waste of energy. That's kind of how I constantly combat comparing. And when it comes to Miss Universe, I mean, I just look at trying to find the commonalities between us and trying to find those friendships, because it's an amazing opportunity for me that's so unique. And I get to meet these women from all around the world and learn about their different cultures, and rather than comparing myself to them, that just seems like such a better use of my time.
Yeah, we agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
It seems like a place coming from a place of appreciation and gratitude and pride in other people.
And turning that onto yourself too. Right? Like we can be proud of these things about ourselves. I think that's important too. And I think you do a beautiful balance, Sarah, of being proud and humble. I'm like, how does she do that?
You got it going on, girl.
Yeah. But so for you, it was the conscious choice of, okay, with comparison, it just depletes me from time and energy of being able to get to know people and being able to enjoy. So it sounds like when you notice yourself going down that route, you just bring yourself back to like, hey, that's not helpful. Like, what can I get out of this experience or out of this person?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you're speaking to sororities and different events, engagements about this topic, body image, what do people find that's most helpful that you say?
Ooh, well, typically I go through all the different types of diagnoses. There's lots of oohs and ahs there. I mean, orthorexia, very unknown. Binging, sometimes unknown. A lot of people that aren't very educated, they instantly think anorexia or bulimia if they know anyone. And there's just so much more that is, I mean, you guys know, diagnosed by the DSM-5, and there's just a lot. So that's surprising to people. And then just warning signs to look for in yourself or in your friends, and kind of what to do with that. Because when I was in college, we had a roommate. I lived in a house with 5 girls, and it was a blast. Loved it. Toward the end of our first semester, one of who used to be like our mother figure in our house, started developing kind of orthorexic and then turned anorexic habits.
Which, can you clarify what orthorexia is?
That only eating what you deem is healthy.
Right. And so that might look up, and impact your life where you're bringing meals to others, you're not going to restaurants, right? And it becomes it takes control of life. Like, so we're not saying it's, wrong to want to eat healthful foods that are wholesome, but when it overpowers.
The intention behind it, right?
It's the obsessive, you can't go to galas without knowing what they're serving. That's my understanding. I'm in no way a professional. I did my research on it. But there's just, like I said, lots of diagnoses that young women don't know and that they find interesting. And then
it sounds
also
it sounded like your roommate was kind of struggling with that.
Yeah, so my roommate was really struggling, and we really didn't know what to do originally, but it was impacting all of us. And that's an interesting fact too, is when you're surrounded by someone, especially if you live with someone, and they are struggling in this way and they haven't yet desired to get help for themselves, it's okay for you to. That's something I encourage as well, because it does impact you no matter how much it doesn't. I mean, my dad just always would tell me, ignore it, just ignore her, move on with your life. And then the best analogy our family doctor told him was, next time he tells you to ignore it, tell him to snap a rubber band on his wrist and ignore that every single time.
I like that.
It's just not something that we could choose to just ignore. It's not. It impacts us, and we can't help it.
Yeah, it's never our duty to save others, but I operate from the philosophy that we need to, especially somebody who's sick and can't quite clearly see things, at least point it out, right? And then take care of yourself.
Yeah, it sounds like it was impacting you, and you were having to protect yourself.
Oh, absolutely. It impacted us all very differently. One was an athlete, so she was gone all the time. So she was all right. Another was actually had a history of outpatient clinical help with her anorexia when she was in high school. And so being around that behavior was a lot of trigger for her. And her mom literally said that if you don't start getting help, I'm going to come move in with you guys on campus.
Sixth roommate.
Right. Yeah. For me, I ended up, I don't know about y'all, but when I'm hungry, I get hangry slightly. Oh, yeah. And so our roommate was hangry and exhausted. By the end of the day, she could hardly hold her head up anymore. But even if I would cook, chicken and broccoli, like the healthiest of healthy and boring meals in the kitchen, I would get like an eye roll or a sigh or something. And so I ended up eating in my room a lot. And that's where I have knowledge of binging and having those specific trigger foods. Like I was obsessed with jars of peanut butter and it took a turn for me, but that was because I felt shamed anytime I ate anything around her. And then one of my other roommates, fashion merchandising major, always glam, started to go to classes in t-shirt and a hat and just really was struggling in that way. And so it impacted us all so differently. And I think that's a beautiful example of how we, again, are so different. We're all made unique and we're not going to react to everything the same way.
Right. Yeah. And one point that I want to make too, Sarah, is this emotional aspect to it of whether you're a supporter or the one struggling with eating disorder. So it's so much more, you know this than the diagnosis, but as a way to cope with anxiety or depression or traumatic events that you've had in your life. And so I think that's so helpful for, once again, like either if somebody's struggling with that or for the supporters to know that it's more than just about the food and body image. This is a way that they're coping, and it can be hard on both ends. So everybody needs some help in some way, right? In going through that.
I'm curious, what did you do for support for that? How did you come out of that place?
Well, I went home. It's a funny question. I went home for my spring break, my junior year. And I was convinced that my thyroid was broken. I was having thyroid problems.
Oh, sure. Yeah, blame it on the thyroid. We hear that.
So much weight so quickly. And, I went in to see my family doctor, test my thyroid. My thyroid is fine, guys. It was fine. And he said, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Nothing." It was very much internal. It was one of those things where I didn't even know that was the situation yet until I broke down right there on his table after he kept asking those probing questions, broke down in tears, told him about everything that was going on in my college experience. And that's when I really realized the issue, and I was able to rely on my friends at school and my family for support. One of my best friends, the one who was fashion merchandising, I came back and I told her kind of like, this is what just happened, and this is what I've been doing. And she said, like, I know, I've noticed. And I thought to myself, why didn't you tell me? Why did it take my mom in the state of Nebraska to take my head and shake it and say, what are you doing? Best friend, I want you to do that for me too. And so that was a really good growth moment for us.
Sure. Well, and Sarah, I think it's because people sometimes are scared about how do I approach this, right? But I hear, being hurt that like, why didn't you say something earlier? Because it's such a struggle. Yeah. And so I don't know, would it be helpful for us to talk about if you're, the signs for people to be looking out for and then how to approach someone? Do you think based on your experience, it sounds like that would have been?
That would be great.
Yeah. I mean, I know you do some education too, and so we can make this a conversation, but like for you and your own experience where you noticed, and like for your roommate and or yourself, things starting to go awry, how did it look for you?
In what capacity?
I guess, well, maybe we should narrow it down in based on what you feel comfortable sharing, like your own experience or your experience of your roommate. Which would you be like more comfortable talking
about? With my roommate, it was just gradual. A lot of control. She was studying for a big exam. Started with control, and then loss of energy toward the end of the day. She really couldn't hold her head up at the end of the day, and she just lacked all joy starting early on. And
her personality kind of changed. Yeah. Did you notice if she started to isolate more or cancel on plans?
Oh yeah, she didn't have any friends anymore.
Okay.
So she would hang out with us sometimes as that mother figure, and then she was also part of a sorority, and she failed. She's never went to those things anymore.
So withdrawing.
Went to the gym at the exact same time every day.
Super regimented, very structured, kind of ritualistic. Yeah.
So those are some things to look out for as far as like mood changes and like not being involved in activities or around people that you're used to. And it sounds like you could just physically tell that she just was lacking energy. Could you tell like she would get kind of just be preoccupied? Like if you're having a conversation, you're like, hello, are you listening to me?
We wouldn't really have conversations.
Oh, okay. Oh, she was at the point of like not even talking. Okay.
But if you're not fueling your body, then or your brain, your concentration, attention span, it's hard to like even focus on having a conversation or try and have a relationship.
Yeah.
Well,
what else, Julian? What are other signs? Eating disorder.
Well, I guess I have a question. Seeing those signs, what are our viewers supposed to do in that moment? What do they do? Who do they go to?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple thoughts. And JC, do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think for me, and this is what I think therapy is all about, is learning to be honest. And honest with care is the way that I like to suggest approaching others. And doing so in a way of stating your own experience. So, hey, I noticed this, and this, and it makes me sad to see how you have changed and how you're not going out and you look like you're struggling and it's hard. And I want to be here to help.
Observations and just caring.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the way that I approach it. I mean, no way to dance around it. I think what eating disorders do is like everybody starts to walk on eggshells, and let's just have a conversation with love and care. Now, knowing that not everybody's going to react in a positively, that's okay. But you're saying your piece and you're saying, okay, this is what I'm noticing. Is there anything I can do to help you? So there's a lot of ambivalence sometimes in people with like disordered eating, right? Because they want to feel better, and they know how to do that through food and exercise. And so that's really scary for them to think about doing anything different. Does that help?
Yeah, that does answer my question. That's great. That's beautiful. And when you mentioned the walking on eggshells around eating disorders, I just had a light bulb moment. I'm so proud to be living in an era where we are eliminating the stigmas around mental illness, whether that's discussing it or being open about having one, or what you do for yourself if you do have that. But I feel like specifically eating disorders within that mental illness realm, we still do walk on eggshells. We don't talk about it as often, which is crazy to me because it's the number one one killing mental illness in our country.
One so every
it's bonkers
hour.
That we don't talk anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I appreciate you speaking up about that. And too, I think what helps people understand is that, okay, there is such a big genetic proponent to this. So know that, like, if you're somebody who's listening to this right now that is struggling, thinking that, like, I just need to get over this, I should just do things differently, like, I should be able to do this on my own. Like, hey, there is such a strong genetic component to this. You're not at fault, but you deserve to live a life where you can feel free around food and be able to move your body in a way that's joyful and be around others. Like, you really do.
Yeah, and there's a direct path for that, like through therapy or treatment centers.
Yeah.
Different avenues that, like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do it on your own.
Right. Yeah.
And if you feel like your friends around you are a negative influence, and this is a question I get a lot, well, these are my friends, and what do I do about that? What are you passionate about? Are you a writer? Join a writing club at school. Are you into fitness classes? After work, go join some classes, find some different friends. If you're into poetry, join a club. There's so many different places. Figure out what you're passionate about and what you enjoy doing, and then you're going to find friends within that same same goal, same mindset, and then you can enjoy doing those things together. No matter how old you are. I mean, I know I'm young, so it's silly for me to speak to this, but
you have wisdom, girl.
Like
you have wisdom. At your age of 24, you have a lot of wisdom.
Friends, no matter what age we're at.
Yeah.
By just looking for those common likenesses.
Yeah. No, but you make up a good point of like why it can be hard for people to get help sometimes is that it seems so normal, especially like you're saying when you're friends that are doing it and it's talking about the next diet and how you can lose weight and how much you're working out. Like it can be hard to tweeze out and find other outlets because it's just, so normal in a way to talk about this, right?
Absolutely.
And compete. But I love your idea of being able to like redirect energy and focus in finding people that accept you and help you focus and do something different.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I have a funny story that I just wanted to share with you, Sarah. So it's funny, and then it's also super sad, right? So do you remember those ab stimulators, like infomercials? Have you ever seen that?
No.
I mean,
the belt that you put around your abs and it like shakes.
Oh, no, I haven't seen it, but that's funny. Okay.
Yeah, so they sell them on infomercials, or they did back in the day. Yeah. Like I was like 13 or so years old. And it basically, like the way that they're selling it is, if you wear this on your abs for 30 minutes every day for the next month, you will have a 6-pack of abs. At 13 years old, I called up, gave them my debit card. I had a bank account.
Why did you have a debit card at 13?
I don't know. I got a bank account early. I'm an entrepreneur. It was a good start, but not for the right reasons, right? And so I would shock my abs every day and want to get the 6-pack abs, which is just so wild to me. And yeah, so I don't know. I just think that it's starting at a very early age, and we have this industry. What did we look up? The diet industry is a $60 billion industry. Beauty industry is a $445 billion industry.
Yeah, something astronomical.
Yeah.
But it starts young.
There's nothing bad with wanting to take care of yourself and wanting to be beautiful and wanting to be healthy, but they are selling something that is we are basically not good enough unless we look a certain way. So I don't know, that just struck me as we were preparing for this podcast of it's just crazy how early it starts and how many messages were being sent of you're never taught a healthy body image. You're taught I'm not good enough. And then you kind of have to work out of that in a way by our culture.
And then think about it. When you were 13, yes, we had infomercials, but now there's social media too. And that's why I really stress that social media cleanse. Go through who you follow. If you feel inferior, you feel superior, unfollow them, and then don't fall for the gimmicky.
Yes, don't buy an ab stimulator. Anyone out there, please
save your money. Yeah.
Well, crazy enough, tomorrow I leave for Miss Universe, so I still have some errands and things to do this evening, and then all day tomorrow. So cross your fingers for me for the super long flight all the way to Thailand. But I'm very excited and grateful for this opportunity to chat with you guys tonight before I leave. So thank you.
We're so excited.
Thank you so much. Do you have any last words that you want to share with our listeners?
I mean, it's all about that balance. Don't deprive yourself and don't punish yourself. And then as far as the hate, what I received, I would never, ever want to wish that on anyone, but try to look for the good from it. For me, it was an opportunity to grow. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to get closer to your mom because you start to confide in her, or you go to therapy for the first time, or whatever that may be. Look for the positive in it, and don't let it control you. Don't let it control your life, because it does get better. And season in New York City. So times change. No matter how much you feel in that moment, that's all that's going on in your life. There's more.
Absolutely. Do you have time for one question from our panel? Or listeners that are listening?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Did they? Brittany, if you're listening or seeing us right now, do you have a question from the crowd? that you can call in? Let's see. She has the number. And if we don't hear her.
We have a watcher. We have a hello from Ireland. Hi. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.
Oh, wow. That's cool. How can you see where they're from?
They say on the
They
little
said hi from
Oh,
Ireland.
okay. I can't see
We're
from
not
here.
as tech savvy.
That's not a question that revolves around body shaming. That's not relevant. But my evening gown is something that I got to choose for myself that makes me feel confident and just so beautiful in my own skin, and it highlights the parts of me that I love the most, and I can walk easily in it, which is the most important. Knock on wood.
We're knocking on wood for you. That's awesome.
Well, it doesn't look like we have a call, so that's okay. But thank you so much.
Oh, wait, no. Okay, I guess they're calling now.
What a tease.
Okay.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hey, Britt. What is a question we can ask Miss USA from our listeners?
So we'd like to know just some more practical tips as far as like mindset and ways to take care of yourself when you do have a bad moment or you receive, some hate or negative feedback from either yourself or others.
You hear anything?
What's some of that mental talk if she has any?
Yes.
Tips?
Okay, sorry, Sarah. We're getting direct into our headphones. So, we were just, the listeners were wanting more practical tips on how to work on that mindset when being attacked by others or criticized. I know you said just not to engage. That's not worth the energy. Is there anything else?
I'm sorry, you kind of broke out. So was the main question there just essentially tips to work on when you're attacked?
Yeah, practical tips, like maybe more concrete, like a mindset or concrete tips.
If you have a specific quote or a verse that you can repeat to yourself in those moments, or you have a specific person that you call, or you have deep breathing techniques, there are a lot of different things that work for different people. There are meditation apps on your phone that you can download. But for me, it's more so just taking a moment to really decide how I feel in that moment and letting myself feel those emotions rather than masking it. If you're in public and something happens, sometimes I overcompensate and act too happy, but then later taking that time to reflect on what that was and growing from it. But as far as practical steps in the moment, deep breathing, repeating a verse or a quote to yourself are probably my two that I do most.
Yeah, that's super
helpful.
Yeah, that is so wonderful. And when we let Miss Yosei get onto her busy schedule, I'll share perhaps a quote that we have specifically by Brene Brown. I don't know. Do you know much about her, Sarah? Brene Brown?
Not.
Oh, okay. You'll have to read her.
She's amazing.
The Gifts of Imperfection. Oprah loves her, so I'm just saying she's a woman worth checking out. Yeah. But we know that you have been so generous with your time, and we're so excited for you to carry your beautiful heart and self all the way over to Thailand and do us proud.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I hope to make you proud. Are you guys going to watch?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Watch party.
Absolutely.
Hang your American flags in your living room. Go USA. December 16th, live on Fox.
We will be there in spirit.
Yeah.
And my brother will be there watching you, so that's exciting. I'll be FaceTiming him.
I am grateful to have quite a pretty fun crowd coming all the way to Thailand, especially around the holidays. I can't believe it. But thank you guys so much again for the opportunity and for everything that you do for your listeners and for those that you impact. I appreciate you.
Oh,
Yes.
you're so sweet.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Right back
much.
at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, girl.
Okay, bye, girl.
Mwah.
Well, okay. I suppose as JC is closing out of the Instagram Live, we'll just take a couple minutes to wrap up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be good. Do you want to read our Brene Brown quote?
Oh, any chance I can read Brene Brown?
You go, girl.
Yeah, but
Read that.
Yeah, for maybe our listeners and wanting more, I guess, of a mindset to help dealing with the haters, as they say. This is from Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. She says, don't grab hurtful comments and pull them close to you by rereading them and ruminating on them. Don't play with them by rehearsing your badass comeback. And whatever you do, don't pull hatefulness close to your heart. Let what's unproductive and hurtful drop at the feet of your enamored self. And no matter how much your self-doubt wants to scoop up the criticism and snuggle with the negativity so it can confirm its worst fears, or no matter how eager the shame gremlins are to use the hurt to fortify your armor, take a deep breath. Yes, Miss USA, you're right. And find the strength to leave what's mean-spirited on the ground. You don't even need to stomp or kick it away. Cruelty is cheap, easy, and chicken shit. It doesn't deserve your energy or engagement. Just stop over the comments and keep daring, always remembering that armor is too heavy a price to pay to engage with cheap seat feedback.
She's so good.
She's so good. That was a mouthful, but yeah, Brene Brown, if you're listening.
That's amazing.
Podcast guest goals.
For real. Maybe we can share some resources for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I know that, I mean, you have a ton of clients that you work with body image and eating disorders. What's most helpful for them?
Yes. So I love the National Eating Disorder Awareness website, as they can have tools both for supporters and if you are struggling yourself. But I also want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors for the podcast too, Eating Recovery Center. As far as you can call them and they can screen and see if they can best help you or connect you with others if they think you need something else. But they're a comprehensive treatment center. They have like so many locations. I don't know the correct number throughout the U.S., but firsthand experience working there, and just can say that all the professionals there are really caring and competent, and can really help you find some freedom and feel good about yourself, about your body, about your eating habits. So I would say check them out. Yeah,
Eating Recovery Center, ERC.
Yeah.
So great. I've had some of my clients who I don't typically work with eating disorders, but who have like brought that in, and we've called them and they do a screening and give them like their analysis of what they need.
Yeah.
So it was super amazing.
Yeah.
And I love the NIDA.org website. It's so amazing. I feel like every woman, man, everyone should read their resources on there.
Yeah, it's a wealth of information. And I think, as we were talking with Sarah, there's so much to eating disorders and body image that we don't really know about. And I'm glad that we'll be able to dig more into this in a couple weeks with Jessica Calcutt, if you're listening. She's coming on. So anyway, some books, though. Should we talk about books that people can read? 8 Keys to Recovery by Carolyn Costin. I love, there's a lot of journaling, as well as practical tips and tools interweaved with stories and professionals' input. So it's just like awesome.
Okay.
I'm trying
Another
to
big
think.
one?
I think that's what stands out. I know that we can compile a resource
Yeah,
list.
and we can put that on our show notes as well. So shall we wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up.
Again, you can find us at whiterockcounseling.com or everydaytherapypodcast.com. Please rate and review us on iTunes. So we ask this on a regular basis. If this helps you in any form or fashion, it really means a lot to us for you to either review us or share us with somebody else. And we always love feedback from you guys as well.
Absolutely.
So,
yay.
Anything else?
Oh my goodness. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, there we have it, guys. Miss USA. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We'll see you guys Friday. Yeah.